And one of the reasons why I'm really interested in telling this story is because I feel like everyone uses agar today in the lab who wants to grow microbes, but few people know about Angelina Hesse.
Corrado, it's so good to see you again.
Thank you for having me, Paul. I'm very excited for this chat.
So let's start with the core of Fanny's discovery, that you can use agar to isolate the microbes that teem all around us. Now, what is agar, and how has it helped us reveal the bacteria that live within us?
Yeah, so agar is really a jelly. It's a seaweed product. Originally, it's a dessert or a savory dish. It's very common in Asia and in Southeast Asia. So it can be used in savory dish and in desserts. Now we need to go back more or less 150 years ago when scientists tried to grow microbes in the lab to study them. So they wanted to have a solid substance, a solid medium in which they can grow colonies of microbes. So they needed a medium which is nutritious, but which is also solid and remains solid during incubation. So it doesn't melt, it's not degraded by microbes. And they used various foodstuff to grow them, and everything they used before didn't work so well. They used something like coagulated egg white, for example, potatoes. Now these things are easily degraded by microbes. Then Robert Koch was inspired by mycology and switched to gelatin. So it could have a nutritious broth solidified with gelatin, and this gave some results, but gelatin melts very easily and is also degraded by many microbes. So here came Angelina Hesse with a brilliant idea to use agar instead of gelatin. And agar really solved the issue because agar is a strong jelly, so it doesn't melt at high temperatures. And is also not degraded by most microbes.
This is a big deal because when you grow bacteria on liquid culture, it's really hard to isolate them from the medium. So having a solid surface would make it so much easier to isolate those individual colonies so you could study them further. How has knowing that in turn helped so many lives?
Until something like 150 years ago, scientists and physicians didn't know that microbes can cause diseases. Now, they would observe microbes with a microscope since 200 years before, but they didn't know if these caused diseases or not. So imagine you have a tissue and the tissue is sick, and you're a doctor and you want to figure out what's happening with this patient, with this tissue. You might observe microbes, but you don't know if the microbes are the cause of the disease or just a consequence of the tissue which is unwell, unhealthy. And so there was a big debate in the scientific and the medical community to figure out if microbes were a cause or a consequence of disease. And here comes Robert Koch. He developed this technique to obtain colonies of microbes, so pure cultures of microbes. And then this was the necessary step to study them and to determine that they can cause disease. With it, he developed the famous Henle-Koch postulates, in which he could demonstrate unequivocally that one microbe can potentially cause a disease. And the principle is very simple. He observed a microbe in a diseased animal. He isolated this microbe. He grew pure colonies, pure cultures. And then he incubated the same microbe in a healthy animal, and he saw the same disease developing. So this was the proof that he came up with. And pure cultures, so colonies of microbes growing on a solid medium, were key for this.
Koch's postulates came in handy now for high schoolers, for university students, and for all medical professionals too. So it's wide sweeping.
Absolutely, and at the time it was considered the biggest discovery in bacteriology at the time. We take this for granted today because the technique is so ingrained and so crucial to study microbes. At the time, it was a big revelation that someone came up with a method to really isolate and grow pure cultures of microbes and really study them.
The other people also contributed to the transformative nature of microbiology, including Fanny and Angelina. How did Fanny discover agar?
Yeah, so you're totally right in this. There is many players in science, and it's very often a team effort also in today's science. And very often a few people tend to get credit or the merit for it. But there was many people involved, and Angelina Hesse was one of them. And one of the reasons why I'm really interested in telling this story is because I feel like everyone use agar today in the lab who wants to grow microbes, but also agar rows in biochemistry to do molecular work, to do biochemistry, molecular biology. But few people know about Angelina Hesse. That's one of the reasons why I'm so interested in this story. She came up with the idea because of her connection with Netherlands, and in turn the connection between Netherlands and Indonesia, or Java at the time. Now, Angelina Hesse was half Dutch and half Swiss. She was born and grew up in the US because the parents emigrated a few years before her birth, close to New York City. And in my understanding, she grew up in a Dutch community. And according to papers published about her, the mom knew about agar used in dessert in Java through families or friends that have been living in Java. Java at the time was a colony of the Netherlands. Agar has been used in the kitchen in many countries since the mid-19th century for desserts, also for savory dish. So this is how Angelina Hesse knew about it, and then because the husband was German and had been working with Robert Koch for a few months, and then seeing the difficulties that Robert Koch had in growing microbes with gelatin, then Angelina Hesse came up with the idea to use agar instead.
It's amazing how scientific innovation can come just from talking with friends and family and just getting ideas from the broader community. And I think what really boggles my mind right now is, despite how far-reaching like the implications have been for discovering agar, for identifying a solid medium through which bacteria can just grow stably, her contributions have become largely forgotten. And as well as the people, including the friends and family, who helped Angelina discover agar as a medium for microbial growth. So why do you think she's been largely forgotten all these years?
There was sadly not a role for women in science at the time. Women were often not given access to the laboratory or to the work itself. And then very often they work in the background, so the contribution they did was anyway overshadowed by the contribution of the husband or of the brothers or of the male person in the family. Historically also, you see sometimes reference to her as a German Hausfrau, so as a German housewife. But I think she was much more. And I say this because she also left behind beautiful scientific illustrations of the husband's work, which we still have and which we can still see, and which I really want to show in my graphic novel. Sometimes in the narrative you also see like someone saying that the husband took merit for the discovery of agar, or Robert Koch did. And this is also not true. In my understanding of it, the husband and wife worked as a team. And I also don't think that she had ambitions to be a scientist. I don't think she felt wronged in his life, and I think she was happy to have contributed this without taking extensive merit for it. So in a way, this speaks for the humblessness of the character, which I think should also transfer a little bit in the story we want to tell. On the other side, this also contributed to the fact that she's not well remembered today.
So how do these themes come together to inspire a future generation of scientists from your readers?
As a microbiologist, for me, walking into a lab and taking a look at a petri dish in the morning with agar and see colonies on it was something that you do every day in the lab, and really exciting to see, I have colonies today, So I really hope to give a little bit of this excitement. But then the story is also about memory. Yes, so it's also going to be a personal story of memory and remembering. I think the inspiration we want to give is about resilience and about contributing to society in a way that you can and you want to do it. I think this will be kind of a strong message we want to give.
It's especially good memories for me too, because that's partly why Gino supported this project, because I used to be in the lab a lot and I grew colonies all the time. I streaked them onto plates, agar plates, put them in the incubator, and you see these beautiful, colorful colonies, especially some with some beautiful agar art too. Especially when you look at the American Society for Microbiology, they have a lot of beautiful agar art online. And I think we really take for granted just how revolutionary the discovery of agar is in microbiology, seeing that millions of culture plates are being grown every single day now.
Absolutely. This is really a strong motivation for me. I ran a very quick survey within my network and got something like 450 answers, really asking a simple question. Have you heard about agar before? Have you heard about Angelina Hesse before? And I think something like the half or 1/3 of microbiologists, so people that work with agar on a regular basis, still don't know about her. And this for me is baffling. It is as if a journalist, don't know about Johannes Gutenberg, so the person who invented the printing press. Now, you don't know to know about all the details about the history. But I mean, only knowing her name, I think everyone that whose work depends on agar, should know her name and should know that the discovery comes from her. Now, another person or another name very familiar to everyone working in a lab with microbes, but also very often outside of a lab, is a petri dish. A petri dish is the container in which you pour agar and you grow microbes in. And petri dish is very often a name that also people outside the lab have heard, at least vaguely. And the petri dish, the name comes from Julius Richard Petri, which is also a bacteriologist and physician working with Robert Koch, just like Walter Hesse. And really at the same time, just a couple of years after Walter Hesse, he worked in Robert Koch's lab in Berlin, and he developed these petri dishes basically. And now not many people might know about Julius Petri. Actually, he's also a very interesting figure that not many people know a lot about, but at least people know the name Petri through petri dishes. So it's a little, I definitely find that it is an injustice that people don't know about Hesse, about the couple Hesse, about Angelina Hesse. So this is an historical injustice, and trying to change that, it's quite exciting for me as a writer, as a storyteller, to know that I'm telling a story that is historical relevant, is still relevant today because agar is so important in science, and also seeing the wonderful feedback that I get from the community of people wanting to support us and helping us telling this story. It's very exciting as a writer because you feel like you're telling a story that people resonates with. So for this I'm grateful, and it really fuels me to do more for the story, to try to make it popular and to work hard for this story, which we are working on since 2 years now for the graphic novel, and it's really exciting to see it.
Now, who's working on it with you? Because I know you have a team of writers, illustrators, probably bookbinders too even. And how did you keep the team together throughout the creation process?
From the early on, I realized I cannot do this alone. I need someone, as many people as possible helping me. There is various roles, and it also various phases of the project. We have people in the science communication field that really help us with this kind of insights and communication feedback, and also in sharing the news whenever we want to put it out about the crowdfunding campaigns. We have historian of science, we have communicators in microbiology, we have expert in science comics, so someone that is publishing science comics, and we have illustrators. So when I had the idea to transform this story into a graphic novel, I thought I really need someone that do the illustration because I'm not able to. And so a team was fantastic and really helpful in creating the concept art, which was instrumental to get the seed funding happening through Kickstarter. Now we decided it's the best to go ahead with just one illustrator. So we have a full story illustrated just by one person. Her artist name is Schock from Germany. She's an amazing illustrator, and I'm really grateful for all the work she's putting in and the dedication and the craft to turning a script into beautiful images, beautiful storytelling. And we figure out it's better to go ahead with just one person, so it's a coherent kind of imagery and visual identity. And so the core group now is 2-person, but there is a lot of people involved and helping and ready to help us and share the news and giving feedback, so this is totally incredible.
It's a quite an international team as well, because you've mentioned you're in Indonesia right now, your illustrators in Germany, and like, how did you put the team together? Like, how did you find all these people?
It's a mixture of people that I knew before from my network, that was work I knew and I admired. So I wanted to work with them, and I reached out to them telling the story and asking for their help, and also offering them a specific role, like I had a specific role in mind for them. Whenever I mentioned Angelina Hesse, people either knew about her already and were eager to help, or didn't know about her and were eager to help. So that really motivates me to tell the story, but also I'm really grateful for the people helping, really. Some of them were people that I never worked with, but I saw their work online, and I really enjoy seeing what they do and admired their work in science communication, in illustrations, in storytelling. So I reached out to them and asked, and that's how the team came together. For me, it was important to have a very diverse team in many different continents, so we can really put together our knowledge, our expertise, and have a broader view rather than just a narrow one. And it was also very important for me to have the family on board. So the surviving relatives of Angelina Hesse, these are the great grandchildren of Angelina Hesse, who share with me unpublished historical material about her. So they share illustration of hers that have never been published before, as well as a biography, never published in full, written by the grandchildren, Wolfgang Hesse. And so, for me, it was really important to know that they agree with it and they are behind it. And they are, which is amazing. And also they keep sharing with me new material that I get inspiration from. For example, quite recently they shared with me the picture of the burial site of Angelina Hesse in Dresden. It's just amazing to see this, it's something you don't see very easily online, and it's a pity because she's an historical figure that made an incredible contribution to science, medicine, and technology. So these kind of documents, I feel, they should not be just a family heirloom, but should be in the public domain. So I'm very grateful that the family support me, helps me, and I want to do my best to tell this story to as many people who want to listen and read, and also make sure that the documents also are put out there, published, put in the public domain, so people can really see them.
The best part of hearing all that is all the primary source information you have, like the old manuscripts, the letters, the illustrations. How did it feel to be able to see all those documents firsthand?
Super exciting, really super exciting. Originally, I was not set out to write a graphic novel. Originally, I wanted to write a feature article, actually a news article for a magazine, about a story I saw about microbiology and co-cultivation of microbes. I sent a pitch, no answer or no positive feedback, so they didn't accept the pitch. Then I thought, okay, I want to explain the scope a little bit, and I still feel like this story is exciting and important, so why don't I write about agar more in general, and about cultivation more in general of microbes, and why this is important. And then I immediately thought, okay, well, if I talk about agar, I should talk about the history of agar as well. And I should also mention Angelina Hesse and her important contribution, which I already knew is a story that not many people knew about. So I decided to write a feature article with this kind of angle, and then I pitched to magazines again, and no, the magazines were not interested, and I was really confused. And I know from a publication about Angelina Hesse, the one written by Wolfgang Hesse, so the grandson, in a very humble way, he said in one sentence, in a bracketed sentence, he say, the author, so he himself, is very proud to possess his grandmother's original illustrations. It's just one sentence in bracket, and so it's like, reading this, I thought, okay, well, exciting, but where are these illustrations? Why it is so difficult to see them online? And so I thought, okay, why don't I try to find the family of Angelina Hesse? Why don't I try to find Wolfgang Hesse? Or I thought, most likely the kids, if he has any kids. I thought he might be already deceased, knowing the timeline. So why don't I try to reach out to him or the family to see if they want to share with me these illustrations. Then I did, I was lucky, and the family was happy to share with me, and they also shared this unpublished biography in which I saw a lot of very personal details about the life of Angelina Hesse, and thinking that she's a public figure in science, that these details also should be published somehow. And then the idea came to publish a graphic novel, so to make these stories visible and to turn them into images. And so it was super exciting to see this historical material, and every time they share something new with me, I'm always like, wow. First of all, on a personal level, I'm amazed to see this, but then as a science writer, I'm like, bingo, I have material that I can show, you know, I have historical material that I can really use to make my story more meaningful, and also, you know, to publish these, so for other people can see them as well. So it's not just me, but it's really for this material to be out there.
Man, I envy you a bit because I love looking at historical documents, and I love seeing illustrations and old pictures, just getting the hands on that primary source of history, especially for a topic like microbiology. Now, when you switched from the article to the visual novel, why the visual novel in particular? What about making graphic visuals like those in a graphic novel makes it easier to communicate something like a microbe that you can't even see with your own eyes?
That's a beautiful question. Thank you for asking this. I think it is the best medium for this story, I feel, because the story is about making visible the invisible. We are going to explain why we want to grow microbes into visible colonies. So this is one thing. Agar itself is invisible, it is a transparent substance. And Angelina Hesse, she's historically, she has been left out of history, so she's invisible to history in many aspects. So we want to make visible the invisible with this, and what better medium than a graphic medium to really show what we are talking about, show images, show the process of growing microbes, show Angelina Hesse, show her illustrations, and really for people to see. But then the theme of the story is about memory, and I think like memory is images and names in one's head, and so we want to show images and we want to show the names, and we really want to help memory being preserved by having a visual medium, and that's why we choose a graphic novel, basically.
Seeing everything with your own eyes and seeing life played out too in a graphic novel it hits different, especially when you look at the characters, because a lot of these figures are from like the 19th century, and you probably will never have seen what they looked like, save for the occasional like early photograph or something, or photo I think it's called daguerreotype or something like that. And to be able to see the characters like interact with each other in real life in an institute or in the laboratory of the 19th century, it just brings the whole story to life. And I love that because the world of microbiology back then was so different. So I love how you went for the graphic novel.
Thank you. We have also started a Patreon page, which is incredible, and for me it's a beautiful way to get support, so people can follow us if they want to, and they can also pledge a monthly support. This is kind of a monthly subscription thing to see exclusive material, and this is for me very exciting because we can put out snippets of the story and small bits like sketches. We put out a page every month that we create, and now that we are in the process of creating it, we can really show how it looks like. And it's really exciting to put out small, bits of the story for people to see. So if people would like to go on our Patreon page, please do, and please consider joining us. You can also register for free, and you can also pledge some money if within your means and interest. It will really mean a lot to us and to the project.
Now, for all the Patreon subscribers and those who are looking to become a Patreon member, how far along the graphic novel are you, and when do you expect the novel to be ready?
Producing graphic novel really takes a lot of work, and we really want to create a high quality work. So far we have produced about 10% of the graphic novel, so about 12 pages, and we aim for 120 pages. Realistically, we might be finished by the end of 2026. The exciting thing is that we really have something to show with a graphic novel on Patreon. So we can really put out every month several updates, sketches, and previews. So I really hope that people that decide to follow us are excited, not just to support us, but also to see what's becoming of it, and like to see the progress and the story developing.
That's amazing, because I'm also a contributor to the Patreon page myself, and I already saw a couple of pages, and I really love the art style and how it whisks you right back to the 19th century Germany where all this was happening. And I'm really looking forward to seeing how the rest of the graphic novel comes out. So thanks so much for coming on, Corrado. I really appreciate all that you've talked about regarding the field of microbiology and Fanny and Angelina Hesse. And as the last question, how else can people support the project other than Patreon? Where can they find you, and what else can they do to support you?
Wonderful. Well, I also must say thank you so much, Paul, for the interest in this story, for the attention you're giving us with your channels, and also for being a supporter on our crowdfunding campaign with Kickstarter last year. So this is very much appreciated. To anyone listening to this and maybe knowing already about Angelina Hesse, or maybe not knowing about her yet, I would say just talk about her to your friends, family, and colleagues, and just mention her name so people can remember her, and just tell about agar, and that it is important to grow microbes, and why, if you want to. But we are going to explain all of this in the graphic novel, and we really hope to tell an exciting story and to have people excited to read it. So share the news however you can and you want. It will be very much appreciated. We also have a website in which people can see some news updates and sign up for a newsletter. And we have an Instagram account in which I put out some graphic sketches and some art. So that is also a way to see progresses and to follow us.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Corrado, for all that. And thank you for taking the time to talk with me today on our GenoWrite channel.
Thank you, Paul.